So, today I'm going to be doing my ranking of all 5 Daniel Craig James Bond movies. I watched them all within the past little over a month in preparation for No Time to Die, which I saw in theaters a little over a week ago. And I'm very excited to talk about these movies. They're the first James Bond movies I've ever watched. And I think they're all very interesting. I'm very excited to talk about them. So I will have spoilers for all these movies in this review. So if you haven't seen any of them and you want to see all of them, come back to this later. But if you don't care or have already seen them, well, let's just get right started with this with number 5, Spectre. This is a movie that I should like, but I kind of just don't. It's not bad. It's a fine movie, but I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think one of my biggest issues with the movie is the fact that, it's just so underwhelming in a few ways. They tie together all the movies with this organization, and we've got, this classic Bond villain with a cool reveal, and we've got, high-stakes action sequences, but it never really hits that note of, wow, this is really awesome, I love this. Of course, there are some moments that are really cool. A lot of the action sequences, I'd say, are still pretty good. Dave Bautista, I think he's really fun in this movie. I like Madeline Swan, even though I think her relationship with Bond felt way too rushed. They were together for 2 days and suddenly they were in love. So even though I had a lot of problems with it, and this movie just felt very underwhelming in its delivery of everything, I still have thought it had its moments, which include, good action, a fantastic performance by Daniel Craig, and I, enjoyed some aspects of it, but I feel like if I were ever going to rewatch a James Bond movie, this would be the one I'd least likely to rewatch, just because it's underwhelming. Also, for some reason, they needed to have that plot line of Ralph Fiennes' M trying to stop MI6 being shut down, but it really didn't affect the movie at all, so, But still decent. You still get some enjoyment out of it. At number 4, I'd say, is Quantum of Solace. This is a movie that I think is underrated. It's not bad. It's just the main plot and the villain are kind of boring and uninteresting, it's maybe a little more realistic of this guy trying to, dam a water supply so he gets a monopoly on this country that's been taken over by a dictator. But, I don't know, just that main plot, it's very underwhelming, very bland and boring and not very interesting, especially compared to the other movies. Especially as compared as a follow-up to Casino Royale. But there is still a decent amount of things I liked about this movie. For the first off, Bond himself and kind of how he's struggling with what happened at the end of Casino Royale and the death of Vesper. I think his whole character arc regarding that just felt very well done. And it felt like that was, there have been consequences to the previous movie that are still affecting Bond to this movie, which I really, really liked. And I thought that the action sequences were really, really cool. There were some great fight scenes. I thought the plane fight was cool. I'd say my favorite sequence of this movie is probably when Bond infiltrated the play and he, hacked into everyone's comms and started talking to them and learning who was part of the enemy organization. I thought all that was really, really cool. And this movie's a mixed bag. There's some aspects of it that I really, really love, such as Bond's character arc and certain cool spy scenes and moments. But I also just think the main plot and premise of it is just kind of bland and boring. So I don't dislike this movie. I think it's kind of underrated, actually. But it definitely has its issues. And number 3 is Casino Royale. Now, this is a big step up from the previous 2 movies before. It just feels like a classic Bond movie. It's just a very cool movie. That's a good way to put it. Daniel Craig makes a great introduction as kind of a younger, more cocky and reckless James Bond. And he's still kind of got that sense of confidence, but it doesn't feel as well earned in a way because he's very new at this. This movie's got great action sequences and chases, especially the fight in the stairwell and the beginning chase in, I think it was Madagascar. It's got a really good villain with Mads Mikkelsen as Le Chiffre. I don't know how to pronounce that. But it's just a cool concept of James Bond has to play a high-stakes poker game in order to stop a villain and save MI6. It's all very cool and well done. And it includes classic Bond elements without it feeling too forced, like the car or his final line. It's got great music. I'd say Chris Cornell's You Know My Name is the best Bond song that I've heard. At least the best Bond song out of these 5 movies. It's fantastic with a great opening sequence. And I think Eva Green is just great as Vesper. I'd say she's probably the most interesting and compelling and well-done Bond girl out of all these movies. And this is just a movie that's so cool and a great introduction of a very different but still unique take on James Bond. My only issue with it is I didn't like all the plot twists in the last third, fourth of the movie. Like, oh, this guy's actually a traitor, but no, he's not. She's a traitor, but she's only a traitor because she's trying to help this boyfriend she's had all along who's trapped, but then she's also so kind of good and trying to help Bond. Just too many plot twists in the final act. But I still thought it was a great, great movie, even if I had a few occasional issues with some aspects of the ending. But I still really like it. And number 2 is No Time to Die. Not going to talk about this too much because I just did a full entire video on it. But I really, really loved this movie. I thought it was a perfectly satisfying conclusion to Daniel Craig's tenure as Bond. I thought it had fantastic action, some of the best score, like musical score of the franchise. Daniel Craig's, it kind of builds off of the last few movies with his relationships with all the other characters. And it just feels like everything's been building to this. And everything just kind of works for me. And sure, I have some issues. I wish the villain was built upon a little more. And I thought Spectre's inclusion into the plot was a little messy. But I still thought it was just a genuinely great James Bond movie that was extremely satisfying and fun to watch and just dang good. But at number 1, as the best Daniel Craig James Bond movie, in my opinion, is absolutely Skyfall. No Time to Die comes close, but Skyfall just works in so many different ways. It's got a fantastic villain with Javier Bardem as Raul Silva, who ties into the franchise, or he ties into Bond's character. It's got amazing action sequences. It's got a great new look at the dynamic between M and James Bond. Fantastic song by Adele. The best action sequence in the franchise, probably with the opening before the credit song, with the chase on the train. And it kind of shows a more broken, damaged Bond who's kind of returned to becoming a spy after being injured. But I'd say some of the best parts of this movie are the ending, which isn't big and bombastic. It's just like James Bond putting up a final fight against Silva with a very dramatic, sad ending. And the cinematography and visuals in this movie are just stunning. I mean, what else would you expect from Roger Deakins and Sam Mendes? But this movie is just amazing to look at. It's the best looking movie out of all the 5 I've seen, especially everything near the end of the movie, especially when the house is burning. Everything in this James Bond movie just kind of comes together for me, and I really have no issues with it. Like, I don't have any outright problems. I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece, but I'd say it's an amazingly great James Bond movie that I genuinely love. Daniel Craig's freaking fantastic. And if I were to ever just be like, I want to go back and watch a James Bond movie, what should I watch? This one is most always going to be my go-to out of these 5 films. So, Skyfall is my favorite James Bond movie of these 5. I hope you guys like the video. Some upcoming videos coming up. I know I have my Dune review coming up soon. I think that's next weekend. I'm not sure if there's anything in between them, but expect a Dune review probably next weekend. But until then, I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.